So, hello everyone. Welcome to another lecture for BASPRG2. So today we'll be talking about OOP. Um, yeah, just OOP lang kasi yung quiz actually medyo mahaba siya unless you want to talk about it. But I can always just give you, I can always just give detailed feedback, right? Because the quiz it might take a while, maybe 30 plus minutes to do, right? So, yeah, well, I think we can just go straight to OOP. Unless, sige, is there any questions or clarification maybe from the quiz or from our previews discussions? So, right, sorry. Yung quiz, hindi ko pa masyado na okay, never mind. Hindi ko pa na-check. Siguro by the end of the week, I should be able to check it naman. Siguro by Saturday, okay na siya. Yeah. But yeah, so any questions? You weren't able to do it. It's I mean, I hope you were able to put some code and stuff. All right. Again, you can always message if nahihirapan kayo. There is no harm in asking, like, sir, paano ulitin ko na whatever. Sure, I'll answer that. There's no harm in that. But the others, no questions or any clarification needed. I think I'm doing it still to understand. Okay. Wala naman sa iba. Hmm. Sige. Okay. So, habang nag-message, if after I check the quiz, kasi I believe you have two more quizzes and a project to do, no? If I can see that maraming maraming nahihirapan, ik I'll have to ano, I'll have to see if I can do something about it. Either maybe open yung past quizzes, but again, ang highest nyo is just a passing grade, maybe. But again, we'll see. Okay? So please don't use that as a way to, okay, sige, I'll just wait na lang for sir to open the quiz again. Who knows? Maybe I won't open the quiz, right? Oh, it really depends. It really depends if maraming nahihirapan. If more than half of the class is having any trouble. All right. So just thinking of that project. I mean, projects like the end of term kind of project thing. So there's no reason for me to like open that at all. But the other quizzes maybe. Okay. So I'll just check. What else? I think yun lang naman for me pang announcements. I don't think we'll have any other days na walang class. Maybe towards the end when I after the last quiz, maybe walang tayong class but more of just consultations. That could be. Uh-huh. Yeah. So I have to double check that. Okay. So sige. There are no other questions or clarifications about anything about the quiz or about any of the previous topics. I think we can go straight to object oriented programming or what we know of as OOP. So before we go to OOP, what have you guys been doing? At the start of the BASPRG 1 pa lang, we've been doing positional programming. So we are focused on how to do something in perfect order and detail. Literally, we code from top to bottom. It's like a linear kind of thing, no? It's only just separated by functions where we just move parts of a code into a function. That's all we've been doing. We're just using one one file, one script, and all that does is just one thing, either to uh yung pass the cloak thing, or ano pa yung sa mga quiz nyo, or yung mga quizzes nyo, exercise nyo, right? It was just one linear thing. Tapos when it comes to finding the bug, ayun nga, sometimes we'll have to like find out. We have to go from line to line why the bug is happening. Maybe you missed a array, or maybe you deleted something and then try to access it, right? So sometimes you have to go through it from line to line. And that has maybe what, 200 or less lines of code. So yeah. So that's procedural programming. But now you'll be learning about, oh sorry. So getting out the flat land is not enough. We need a higher dimension. So instead of just one dimension, which is that just one script, we can go even further. We can have we can start creating a whole system, which is what we have as an OOP. So OOP is a programming language model. So it's a model organized around objects and data rather than actions and logic. So far, what we've been doing is we've been creating actions. We've been creating logic where if money is less than whatever, or if money is greater than whatever, if if millimeters is less than something, right? Those are all logic and actions. But with OOP, we don't. It's not just purely logic, but we use objects and data. So OOP is also intuitive, where it's very similar to how the real world works. So we try to create um, objects that contains data, that contains like behavior or property, where we try to mimic the real world kind of thing. No, so we'll get into that later. So it's focused on defining what an object has and what it can do. So what do you mean when an object has, meaning what does it have? Does it have health? Does it have maybe money? Does it have damage? Right? So that's properties. That's what it's made of. And then we also focus on what it can do. Yung mga functions. Can it do what happens when the health lowers, right? So you have like a function like on death, maybe, or what if I want to shoot or move? So those are behaviors. So we compile all of that into an object. So objects can interact with each other and view your code base in more manageable units. So we so far the what we've been doing, I mean, you've learned about nodes, no? It is well, from the quiz, right? I know from the quiz and the link list, whatever. It's kind of close, but we were only using structs. In here, it only had properties. It never had any behavior or whatever. So you were one step closer to having some manageable units. But now we'll be creating what we call classes or and objects. So example, we have an archer right here. What do you think are the properties and behaviors of an archer? So anyone, what would an archer have? What kind of properties would it have? Okay, yeah, sure. It's a ranged unit, yeah. But that's what we call, or that's what we're defining what an archer is, right? A ranged unit. But what kind of properties would she or he have? We try to go neutral gender here. What kind of properties will they have? Ranged weapon, not really a property. It's more of like, um, you know what? Okay, fine. Maybe it could be a property. Health is a property, correct? Projectile speed, damage, not entirely on the archer. We can move that into the arrow. Because technically, the archer does not handle its projectile speed or projectile damage. It should be handled by the projectile. And we can have damage though, sure. Speed, maybe not. Maybe not. High accuracy. High accuracy, we can correlate that to just accuracy. We can't specifically say that it has high accuracy, right? It's a property. We can give its high accuracy later on by changing its value for its property, but uh, the right one is just accuracy, right? So we could have that as a property. Dexterity, precision, yes, pwede yun. Could have. Maybe you're trying to work, maybe like an RPG, you know? Pwede. You can have some dexterity, precision, like how maybe higher dexterity, right, means more crit, right? So these are just like numbers or values. So those are properties. We didn't go to behaviors. Whatever. Uh, so in here, right? You have health, you have attack power, yeah, attack speed. So instead of projectile speed, attack speed. More of like how fast the archer can shoot instead of how fast the archer's arrow will go. Because iba pa yun. Maybe that arrow handles that. But anyway, number of arrows, bow and equipment. So yeah, tama, range weapon, and hair color. Sure. Then we also have behaviors. What does an archer what can an archer do? It can attack, it can walk, it could die, it could level up, take quests, buy items. So that's what it could do. Tama pa rin naman yung dexterity position. You could have that. But let's try. For here in this example, we will try to dumb it down into just the basic properties lang. Pero pwede naman yun. Dexterity, precision, accuracy. Yeah. Okay. Questions so far? Or clarification? Okay. So, planning your code. Determine what are the objects in your game. That's the very start. Because when you start creating a game, you have to think already what should it have. If I'm creating an RPG game, what are the basic things that it should have? It should have a unit. It should have some weapons. It should have um, enemies. Then we think for each object, define its properties. For a unit, what should the unit have? Of course, we have the health, we have the damage. You could add in also more complicated stuff. That's up to you. But for now, let's go with the basic ones. Attack speed, etc. We could also have maybe inventory in like a array of for inventory, no? Pwede yun. Or kapag sa weapons, then that's where you can also have maybe level, maybe damage also, like additional damage, like additional pa from the unit, no? You could have that. You could also have some accuracy. Maybe if it's like only a 50% accuracy na weapon, half of its attacks is miss, right? So you could have that. Um, Ayun. Next, we also have the behaviors. So what can a unit do? Can it level up? Can it die? Can it pick up? Can it take quests? Um can it move? Right? You start thinking of behaviors. And then how would each of these objects interact with each other? So that's how you think. That's how you plan your code. So like um the unit, a unit can equip a weapon. When it deals damage, it interacts with the weapon that you have, and you also interact with the enemy, meaning how many health should we decrease from the enemy. No? So all of this is what you start thinking about when you create your game. You don't immediately kind of also take some experience rin when planning out your code. It's okay to start very small. It's okay that we miss some behaviors and properties to start. That's fine. But you kind of learn about it later on. You learn that, oh, okay, next time I should also add these behaviors later on. No, so that can happen. It's uh, not all talaga can plan ahead that much, which is normal, right? So this is a new concept to you. Always plan your code. So what makes sense in the real world should make sense in your code, right? So we're trying to like think of objects, trying to think what responsibilities do these objects have? You know, how can these objects interact? So it's like working with real world kind of things. Questions? None. Okay. So let's deconstruct your favorite game. Okay. All right. Give me someone's favorite game. Any. Maybe let's skip out. Okay. Need for Speed world. Cars. So we think cars. What do cars have? Yeah, okay. We can make it more specific if you want. A car technically has an engine, a it has suspensions, it has maybe nitrous, it has chassis, um, it has turbo, it has brakes. So, okay. So, all of those, no? Then each of those has its own stuff. Maybe they all share the same things, no? That's not. Okay, no, no, no. Let's not do that. Let's say chassis. Chassis has weight. Um, what else can a chassis have? I mean, sure, we also have the like what it looks like, no? Maybe color. Sure. You can put that color. Uh, what does it do to affect the car? Weight. Sige, for now, weight. How about yung engine? Engine could have horsepower. It could have acceleration. It could have max speed, right? Then you have suspensions. How maybe on how much control it has. Maybe it has some kind of property for that. Brakes, maybe braking speed. Um, Turbo, maybe from how fast it can accelerate right after braking. We can also maybe add nitrous nga pala, no? Nitrous, you can have how fast, like the properties, like how fast it can go in an X amount of seconds, right? Or maybe like ilan yung laman niya. So we're deconstructed parts of a car. How can we make that work in a car? So in the car, how fast can it go? So when we have the behavior of move, maybe it will start taking into account everything. What's its max top speed based on the engine, the chassis, the turbo, right? So that's all working together. How about turning? When it wants to turn, what does it take into account? Maybe it takes into account chassis because of the weight, maybe the suspension, brakes maybe, maybe not. We could have added tires nga pala, no? So yeah, we what we're essentially doing is we gave them each properties, and how it interacted with the car is by making it work together. What does the car need to do to compute for something, right? So parang ganun. Another example. Let's take out cars now and RPG. Another favorite game. A game that you're playing right now. No one's playing games? That's insane. Okay, let's go with Plants vs. Zombies. Plants vs. Zombies has, let's say, the pea shooter. A pea shooter has attack speed, has damage, it has health. Same thing with ano pa ba? The nut has health. That's all it has. What what else do we have? Sunflower has amount of the rate on how much the sun, that's the sun, right? Whatever that thing is, essence. No, not sun essence. It's just energy. Let's go with energy. How much energy it regenerates, right? Or it can, and each of these has like a level up. So when you level it up, it will do each of it will do something else. Maybe for the pea shooter, it will increase its attack speed. It will increase its damage. Um, so yeah, there's that. So behaviors of it, of course, for the pea shooter is just attack. The sunflower, the sunflower's behavior is just regenerate the energy. Okay. Then we have zombies. Each of it, each of the zombies have their own health. Maybe they also have their own kind of armor, right? And behavior. What do the behaviors? What does a zombie do? It moves. It takes damage. It dies. That's it. Yeah, they don't. I don't think they do anything else. Yeah, 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 yeah. So there. So that's Plants vs Zombies. Tower defense, same thing. Each tower has their own attack speed, attack range. Mm, it could also level up. It could shoot. It could maybe you could sell it. What happens when you sell it? No, like ganun. Then enemies. Enemies for its properties would have health, attack speed. It could also contain maybe the path on how to go from here to there. So that's a property. Then behavior. What does it do? What does the enemy unit do in a tower defense? It moves. It takes damage. It dies. And maybe it also has something when it reaches the base. So yeah, that's how you think about things. No, essentially, when you start thinking about this, and you start thinking how games will do things, there's a chance you might not enjoy games anymore because you start to deconstruct how games are done. You start to construct how can we do this? and that's when you start uh, not fully enjoying the game anymore. It happens. Okay, so yeah, that's how OP is done for those games. And there's more into it, Pap. There's more into it than there's just the units and the whatever. There's more. You also have managers and stuff, but that is uh, for something else. No, that's more advanced. Okay, questions, clarification. Okay. So next, we go to class versus instance. So kayo, what do you think is the difference of a I don't know if you guys know this though. You know what? No, I'm not gonna ask this one. Maybe you guys don't know. So let's go with the difference of class and instances. So class is technically like a blueprint of an instance. It makes up of what does a object have? What does it do? So it has those. It's like blueprint. It as a blueprint. It's not really doing anything as it is. No, it just tells you okay. It has these properties. It has these behaviors. But this is not what we are actually interacting with. So it determines what properties and behaviors are available in a given instance. So this is what we code. Ito yung kinocode natin. The instance, though, is the actual object that is created from a blueprint. This is when you type the new something. Ito na yun. This is the instance. You create when you type like before, diba gumawa kayo node is equal to new node. You created an instance of the struct node and we manipulated its data and its next and previous, no? So union, that's an instance. So all instances of the same class have the same set of properties and behaviors, but each instance keep their own state for each property. Just because you changed a data in one instance does not mean you changed every data in each instance because um you are only manipulating data for that instance only. Okay, so they all share the same thing, they all share the same properties and behaviors. It's just that uh changing data from one instance is just within that instance lang. It won't change everything else. So it's the instance who is doing the action. Okay, so yun yung difference. Class is the blueprint, instance is the actual object created from that blueprint. Okay. Questions, clarifications for this? None. Okay. So now what? So let's start writing code. So there's a demo file. It's essentially yung Archer. So here, let's review struct. So struct allows to group related set of data under a single data type, but it is limited to data only. A class, however, can have behavior of functions that operate on itself or interact with other objects. So, eto. Si struct lang, it really is just data. And HP, and what do we have? Power, name. String, name, and int power. So the thing is, these are all properties. It has no behavior. And the thing is, struct cannot have any behavior at all. You cannot input a behavior, a function here. So hindi pwede. But with class, it holds both the properties and behavior for the data type. So let's go create that. So this is a mouthful, but essentially to create a new C++ class, it creates two files. A header, which is the implementation file. Header and the implementation file. So the header file, it contains all the definitions of the properties and even the functions. So it only has those definitions. It doesn't have the actual um, um, implementations of those functions. So normally, ang header file contains properties like int health, int HP, int whatever. Then um, you also have functions, but it only has like uh, let's say void return. Let's go with yung previous quiz nyo. Void remove member, right? Pero in the header file, you only put just semicolon in the end because you actually implement it in the implementation file, or what we call as the CPP file. So I'll show you later on. Okay, so here it is. So to create a new C++ class, you can just right click here, demo OOP, or wherever in the project file, right click, and you see add class. So this is where you add a C++ class. So we can give it a name. Let's call it Archer. So this one, you don't need pa naman. We'll learn about this later on. This one, you can leave it as blank. If you leave this as blank, it will create the two files, the header file and the CPP file. There. So now you'll see we have, let's just zoom this in a bit. Let's not zoom this in. It's not moving. We have the archer.h, the header file, and the archer.cpp. So it creates these two. So you see here, there's literally nothing in here. Walang naman yung CPP except for this, include. So here in the header file, we have the public. So let's just I'll discuss this later on. HP int power and string name. Okay, let me just include string. And let's also put in using namespace. Let's do it. Then we have the behaviors, which is void move, void attack. What else does it have? And maybe void stray. So this is the header file. You see here, I haven't implemented this yet. I just declared it lang. I declared that there is a function called move, a function called attack, a function strafe. But the actual implementation will be done somewhere else. Okay. So what is public? Public, we'll discuss this later on, but it is essentially the access modifier. It tells you later. I'll be teaching this later on. It's just for now, public muna. We have the data members, which is these ones. So these are the data members, the name, the HP, and power. These are like the properties. Then you have the methods and functions. This is the behavior. This is what the archer can do. It can move, it can attack, it can strafe. All right. Questions here? So this how like you kind of imagine how an archer would have some name, HP, right? So you think of its properties and its behavior. Questions here? Clarification? None. Naming conventions. So class name is always in Pascal case. We always start with a capital letter. Now we can have multiple maybe archer unit, right? So you have the capital A and capital U. So we can have like archer unit or archer enemy unit. So pwede yan. So ano yung bawal dito is small a. Okay? Tatanggapin niya to, but we try to follow naming conventions. So it is always standard. It's like a standard for everyone. Okay? So we follow Pascal case. Next, it should be singular. So there should be no S in the end. Cannot have archers, di pwede yun. Or archer units, hindi na pwede yun. We just make it singular. Archer unit or archer enemy. So instances of a class an instance of a class only represents one unit. Next, all methods and data members should be in camel case. All data members must be prefixed in, okay, camel case. So camel case naman, again, is small and then big. So, more example, maybe you want to void on kill, or maybe void uh, run backward. All right. So it should follow camel case. All data members must be prefixed by M. This one, yeah, you could follow this. Yeah, you could follow this one naman. Para lang everyone is standard. And local variables, which are variables declared inside a method, is still in camel case. So later on, when you create a implementation, if you implement these, if you have a variable inside, you still follow camel case. So you see, ang nagpa-follow ng Pascal case is just the data type. Okay, questions? Clarification? None. Now here's the implementation. There are two ways into doing this. One is way easier than the other. In order to implement the the functions or methods, you have to implement it here, right? To do that, one way is you see this green thing, no? This is only for Visual Studio, by the way. I'm not sure if you can do it with JetBrains or whatever. So in here, you see that I can just right click, quick action factoring, create definition in CPP. So when I do this, it automatically creates the definition of it. So this is what's going to happen inside move. So that's one way. The other way is manually doing it. So you have void archer enemy unit, and then attack. So kayo bahala. So kung gusto nyo, again, either this one or maybe this one, quick action and refactoring and creative edition. So pwede yan. It will automatically create it. Okay. For now, I just let's put some copy here. Moving. What am I missing? What am I missing? Missing music STD. Was it STD? No, I already did that. What am I missing here? Archer. Field string. Hey. What am I missing? iOS stream. We can look at it. Include IO. And here, attacking or strafing. Okay, so yeah, I'm just putting, I'm just printing. Instantiation. So this is where we practice instantiation. So you've done this already using the nodes. So let's remove this. Let's include first the archer, archer.h. So let's instantiate. Since we included archer, we have now archer enemy unit. You want me to just change this back? Archer. I have to also change this back. Okay. Archer. Remember, we need pointer. Let's go to new archer. Then we are literally working with the instantiated class, which is archer. So archer, we can now manipulate its HP, and HP is equal to 100 maybe, or archer and name is equal to archer 1. Then we can also have archer and power is equal to int, it's an int 5. Okay. Then we can also access its functions. Archer attack, archer strafe, and archer move. And then you'll see here that I'll just print those 3. Strafe, attack, move. Okay. So we just instantiated yung archer. Questions? Clarification? None? Klaro pa naman? Or is everyone still following? Yes? Okay. So, instances are independent from each other. So we see here, we could have another archer, but the thing is, like what I said a while ago, they are independent of each other. So how do we check that out? So if I do archer 2, MHP is equal to 50, archer 2, and name is equal to archer 2, and archer 2, and power is equal to 10. So if we try to print it, so archer's name, and then HP, we have archer MHP, and then tab power, and then archer. I'm pretty sure you guys are not gonna be surprised with what's gonna appear here. No? So let's just make a copy of that. Put the archer 2, archer 2, archer 2, archer 2, and you'll see they both have two different things because they are independent. I changed the data for here for this archer 2, but it is not related at all from the first archer. Okay, okay. So that's that. So defining the killer bunny. So we can do this, but instead we have move attack, and then the only difference is cross cutter. So again, how do we make a new class? Right click on the project, add class, killer bunny. And for now we have the same thing. Just put your public muna, int mhp, int empower, and then let's put a include string, and using namespace std, we have string m name, and then same thing again. Void attack, void move, but we have this void, what's called cross cutter. Cross cutter. So, how can an object interact with another object? So let's say for archer, I want sana that when I attack, I want to attack what is ever inside the parameter or the reference to that. So we have the killer bunny. Oh, remember, include killer bunny because I want to have a reference. Killer bunny, bunny, enemy. And you see here, nag-green siya because it's not the same anymore. This attack does not exist anymore because the attack here included a pointer. So let's give that the pointer also. Killer bunny. Bunny enemy. All right. So in OP, functions interact with other objects. So before you have to include the variable one by one. So this lists the number of parameters. So why do you want just the object? Don't you, and not the just HP lang, sorry. Why do we need the object and not just the HP? Because we may have to include many other things pa. I know we've learned about using reference, right, for HP. But what if we needed more things from the killer bunny? Maybe we could have needed its defense or whatnot. It's so yeah, better yet, we just put the whole thing in the parameter. In that case, okay, yeah. So ito muna. Okay, so that's why. That's why. Kasi we may need some stuff from Killer Bunny pa. That's why we put the whole thing. Questions about this one? Kasi medyo hassle eh. If you think about it. What if you added the HP, the defense, maybe also pang dodge, right? Eh di dami namang nalagay dito sa parameter. This way, it is kind of easier for you guys to work with. Okay? So before we continue, we need to talk about something called forward declaration. In C++, you can encounter a circular reference problem. What does that mean? If in here, the header file, I included Killer Bunny, but here in Killer Bunny, I include Archer. So there's a problem here. Why? When you include, we are essentially reading the whole thing. We are putting this whole thing in here so that we have access to it. That's why I have access to Killer Bunny. And the thing is, this has also include Archer. That means if I included this, it includes this, and this thing includes this, which also includes this. So you get it. There's a circular reference problem. Umiikot-ikot na yan. If you do this, for sure, your program will not even play. It'll just say, there's a problem. So yun. So what we can do is we can forward declare. Forward declaration only tells the compiler that the data type exists, but will be included at a later time. So after forward declaration, you must include the forward data type in CPP file. Okay. What does that mean? This works, right? This works because we can have access to Killer Bunny. But the thing is, Malaysia, because what if Killer Bunny wants to also access Archer in case it wants to deal damage? That will happen. The circular dependency problem. So what they say is you forward declare. What does a forward declare look like? It looks like this. We forward declared that there is such thing as a Killer Bunny somewhere. You just have to believe me that this exists. And the thing is, in here, sure, it's this. We have access to this, but you find out that I cannot access anything within Killer Bunny. That is why we have to make sure we include the forward declare the header file of the forward declared class in here. That way, I can now access the properties and functions. Does this make sense? Gets niyo ba to? We are essentially telling the program, trust me, this exists in here, in the header file. We do this so that we do not have a problem later on where we may need to also we may need access to the archer also or the other class in that uh, in that other class. Yes, gets. Speak now. Tell me that you don't understand. We can probably talk about this more next time. But yeah. Or you're just saying na this exists. Kasi kung wala to, hindi niya tatanggapin eh. It doesn't know what Killer Bunny is. Right now, it shows it is, but talagang hindi niya alam. If I try to build it, it would be like, what is this? This doesn't make sense. That's why we have like a forward declaration. You can also forward declare here. Pwede rin naman. It'd be like class Killer Bunny. And then here, you can remove this. So yeah, this is another way for the forward declaration. Okay, so you can research more about this. Both works naman. Both are okay. Okay? Questions? Okay. So how do we implement? So like we said, since we now have access to the bunny and the bunny's functions here, so the HP we can minus it from our class's empower. Oops. Empower. So this empower right here is this. Because in here I have access to all of these data types. I mean all of these properties. So you can see here I also have m name. I also have access to mhp, but that is for the archer. This one, of course, this one is accessing the uh, bunny enemies. Okay, gets nyo? So I can count, I can see out here like bunny enemies health. No, name first. HP. Oh, ano ginawa to? Ah, di pala. M name. Attack. Bunny enemy. There. What else did it do? How much damage? Power. M power. Okay, so let's test that out. So you see here, error na siya. No? So gawa tayo ng killer bunny. So killer bunny here, bunny is equal to new killer bunny. Bunny HP is equal to 100. Let's just work with that muna. And in here, let's put bunny. So, archer right here attacked bunny. So if we try to see out or print the bunny's new HP, let's put the mapa. You'll find out that the new HP is I forgot to end that. Okay. Let's also print out the bunny's HP here. Ayan. So from 100, Archer 1 attacked. I did not set the name. Power is equal to just 5. So now the new health is 95. So if I put a name here, bunny and name, bunny enemy, then you'll see that archer 1 attacked bunny enemy, power 5. So now the new health of this instance is not 100 but 95 because the attack just minuses the power from the target's HP. Okay? So, ayan. Client code is any code that utilizes the class. Since it's not a class, just include any class you need. So you can include everything. Okay lang. Because we're working here in this script anyway. The trick is to write classes first before you write any client code. So again, client code is where we're gonna use all of these um, or utilize any of the classes. So with OP, your main code will be much shorter and easier to understand. This way, you don't have to try to read the client code from top to bottom, trying to understand where did bunny come from or something. And it's not just the 200 lines. Essentially, in the future, your client code would only be at most or at least at most 10 lines lang. Yan yung yan yung yan yung future natin dito when it comes to putting our client code in main. Kasi if you think about it, we can also create a class for the games like yung is that the drill in the ear thing? You can have a class for that one. We can put all the functions and whatnot into that. Okay? Questions? Clarification? Mm, nagets nyo ba? Nahilo ba kayo? Violent reaction? Okay. Okay. So, wala. Right. So I hope you get this part naman. We're gonna talk more about OP next meeting. So don't worry. In case you have any questions or clarification, no, after maybe reviewing again in this video, then feel free. Feel free to ask me questions. Okay. Or message me. Message me during the week. Okay lang. Okay. So yeah, if you want, you can try this on your own. Try nyo maybe a different, maybe not just Killer Bunny. Try nyo a different kind of unit. Or maybe you want an archer to attack another archer. You try that out. So play around. Try to play around with this. All right. So if there's no questions, again, feel free to message or ask or just ask for a consultation, no? Okay lang. So yeah, that's it for today. We won't have any homework for next week. So you can just review now. All right. So yeah, that's it for today. You guys can go and enjoy your night.
Thank you, sir.